Hello everyone, Benderton here with another Hero Siege video for you. Today we're going to be covering Endgame Lightning Pally gearing. Getting yourselves all of that nice, beautiful endgame loot, getting the most damage out of it, and getting all of the bosses in Inferno down. Let's go ahead and jump right into this guide. So before we get started on the guide, quick disclaimer, two things I want to cover. First off, the gear that you're going to see in this video is on my Season 5 Pally that has been transferred over into the Season 6 content. As a lot of you know, if you've looked on your Season 5 characters, a lot of the gear still has some of the stats from the star level increases, but they don't have the star levels. So some of the gear that you're going to see is a little bit wonky. I assure you that the information on what pieces to go for is correct, it's just I don't have the pieces on me to show you exactly what they're going to look like. The other thing that is going to make the biggest difference in the pieces that you do and don't swap out as you progress is going to be Satanic Crystals. These will throw the entire tier list of items up in the air, depending on the corrupts that you get. Because if you have a ring that you rolled a +4 to all skills on, it's very much going to outweigh most of the other rings. So there's a lot of variance potential this season because of the Satanic Crystals. So bear that in mind. A lot of the pieces are just recommendations of progression. It's subject to all of the variables that Satanic Crystals can now offer us. Alright, so starting out, we're just going to go right into it with our weapon. As you leveled, you probably ran through Major Mjolnir, got into Hell. We're going to get a Murray as soon as we possibly can, and that is it. There is no improvement from there. It's just finding a better rolled version of it, and putting attack speed gems in it is going to be my recommendation. If you can find jewels that have rolled high attack speed, my understanding is that you can actually roll up to 25% increased attack speed on jewels. So if you can find them, that would be the most ideal. Of course, all of your base stats, +5 to lightning skills, 100% increased attack speed, your 40% lightning skill damage, etc., is the ideal target. But you just have to get there, with that, find one, buy one, etc. But you never really go past Murray. It is our BIS weapon. For the Helm, we had our Delirium, and especially if you get a +5 base, a Delirium is very hard to get away from. It's very tough to walk away from 13 to all skills. However, a properly rolled Grimbone's Visage can be a DPS increase. We can look at up to 3 to all skills, 25 to int, 50% magic skill damage, and another 2 sockets that we can put the crafted chaos jewels into, which gives us another 20 int and 10% increased magic skill damage. So a really good upgrade there. Same thing with Sheep King's Crown. It's in essence the same exact thing. As you can see, this one I have the 3 Chaos Gemstones already in, so the 60 int and the 30 magic skill damage isn't normally there, but you can get up to 5 skills and up to 4 sockets with resistances, which is very handy for us. These 2 crowns, headpieces, interchangeable, I would say, depending on the rolls that you get. You get a really good rolled Grimbones, it's going to be better than a Sheep King's Crown that is lower on the rolls. Okay? Moving on from that, a Gabriel's Dauntless Vision is an upgrade, and one of the reasons why is because the sockets that roll on it are actually the improved sockets. So as you can see, I've got the 3 gems in there, which would normally give 60 int, but it gives me 90 int because of those improved sockets. So those 3 sockets on it is worth quite a lot. Plus it has a chance to roll magic skill, or it rolls magic skill damage on its own, plus up to 5 skills. So you can really get a lot out of this Helm. Again, it's subject to being properly rolled, and if you're using Satanic Crystals. Now, hands down, our BIS is still going to be a High Roller's Death Crown. If you can get your hands on a well-rolled High Roller's that is hit the 777 mark, it's going to outpace everything. Especially if you decide to get a little zesty and you want to use a Satanic Shard on it, you can get some extreme damage out of this Helm. It's going to be very difficult to get, but that's your peak. That's your pinnacle right there. Now, on to amulets. You should be running a Thunderstone amulet, hopefully very well rolled. Moving on from that, I very much recommend a Philosopher's Stone. A good rolled Philosopher's Stone for all skills up to 40 attributes and resistances is going to really help us push into Inferno. On from that is actually a well-rolled Eagle's Claw. I know the attack speed buff has hurt us by a pretty significant margin, but this gives us so much attack speed that it ends up being worth it in the end. So a properly, again, between the two of these, you're looking at the rolls that you get and the corruptions that you put on them. Your Biss is going to be Toth's Agony. The attributes and magic skill damage with the socket is just well worth. It's going to outpace everything. It's really going to be our end game that you're going to want to go for. You're going to get the most damage out of a Toth's. Moving on from there to our chess piece, it's Thunder Guardians. Okay, you're just looking for the closest thing to perfect rolls that you can get on it. As you can see here, mine is the improved one from the season. But in current Season 6, you can get Symphony of Thunder where it has, I believe, 75% lightning skill damage on the proc. And that's a 30-second buff, and that's just too strong. There's no other chess piece that really gives us the same amount of gains. Plus, it can get, you can get 8 to all lightning, or to lightning skills, plus the lightning skill damage roll of 40%, and the minus 25 to enemy resistances. It's just too strong of a chess piece. There might be room to have a discussion about, like, Teriel's chess piece, but aside from running into that instance where you get one that is properly rolled, a really high to perfect rolled Thunder Guardians is just going to be our Biss. And it's far more attainable comparatively. So on we go to Shield. Now, you should have at some point while you were leveling or gotten into early Hell, made yourself a Justice. The resistance rolls on this is just really strong for us. Attributes, magic skill damage, plus to all skills, and movement speed. Really nice shield early on. It's going to help us survive, get a little bit of damage. It's good shield. Moving on from that, in a very weird pivot, we're going to move on to Crematorium's Pledge. And the reason why is because of the extra damage to burning monsters. In your offhand, you want to put a Molten Claw, to put the fire enchant on you, which causes your hits to do burning damage. The extra damage to burning monsters adds at the end. So you're adding this huge 60% buff to all the damage that you're doing. And that applies not just to the physical, but to the lightning damage as well. So stacking burning damage where you can is actually a very viable option. And it's, as you can see, we do also, you put it on a +5 base, it can roll 2 skills, so you can get 7 to all skills out of it. The damage increase that we get is just enormous out of this shield. Ideally for survivability and allowing us to put other pieces in play, St. Homie's is really a viable option. Survivability with this, especially if you get a high vibrance aura roll and good sockets, you can really push the damage comparatively between these. You lose a little bit of damage, but your survivability just goes through the roof. So these are going to be your 2 endgame shields that you really want to push for, especially a high extra burning damage to monsters roll is really going to be important. So moving on to our belt, this is one of the ones that I just could not get my hands on. We, of course, want to get our Set's Lightning Sash, but the new one off of Sung Lee, the Girdle of Eternal War, is going to push just a little bit above it properly rolled. And again, that's the big thing. If you get... It's going to be a hard press if this is a +2 and you get a Set's Lightning Sash that rolls perfect for skill and 25% lightning skill damage. It's going to be a close line. But the Girdle of Eternal War is going to be better aside from the perfect roll. And again, Satanic Crystals are going to throw that up in the air. Of course, you could get yourself a liquor holster, in which case you're going to want to use Empty Bottle of Vodka, and I didn't happen to get my hands on one because they changed the potions, so all of the potions got destroyed. A caffeinated coffee container, which a +5 of this adds 42% damage to burning targets. So that's another huge 42% that goes right along with our shield, adding 102% damage at the max roll. So a liquor holster, plus you have the 2 improved sockets, we can really see a lot of damage out of that. I do recommend keeping a healing and a mana potion with you. And I covered it in my other video, a healing potion that has instant life heal and chance to restore stacks when you kill an enemy, and stack regeneration per second. The mana potion, I don't recommend the instant mana gain. We want to utilize that as we're burning mana down. We pop a potion, it offsets that mana drop. But you do want the mana, or the stacks gained from killing enemies, and the stacks replenished per second. And of course, if you can get your hands on one, hands down, the best belt that you are going to get is El Patron's Madness. This thing is staggering with the proper roll. Your ring effectiveness increased by 125%. It's hands down the best in slot. There's no competition on this. If you can get one, I don't expect a lot of people to, but that's going to be your best belt. Now, for your rings, while you were leveling or just getting into Hell, you probably have tectonic frequencies. You definitely want to make sure that you are using Satanic Crystals on these to try and get really good rolls to help push into Inferno. Once you get yourself into Inferno, you're going to want to get Storm Loop and an Emblem of Daemon, if you can, from Luna. Now, Emblem of Daemon does not require Inferno. It's just a drop off of Possessed Luna. And this, there's 2 main reasons that we want this thing. One, it's the demon form. Gives us a huge boost to attack speed. 44% is a significant increase. And I know that we're not stacking attack speed nearly as much compared to last season, but that's just a huge boost right there. The other reason we want this ring is the extra damage to burning monsters. That goes right along with our other stacking burning damage that we're doing, and that just adds right on the end a huge chunk of damage that we can get out of that, plus the attack speed. And the 2 all skills is nice as well. These are the rings that I would recommend. Of course, you could, if you happen to get them, a St. Aaron's Eternal Rage rolled really well is going to be your BIS. 2 of those will probably be your BIS, especially with an El Patron's. Yes, if you can get your hands on one of those, excellent. If not, then I would recommend go for your Storm Loop and your Emblem of Daemon as your realistic endgame outside of Angelic. Moving on, gloves. So once you get into Hell, you're going to want to get to Tectonic Grips. Before we were using excuse me, I'll have to find them here really quick for you guys. During the level process, you probably went through and got a pair of Titan Static Guards, attack speed, and lightning skill damage. You want to move right into Tectonic Grips as soon as you can with the high lightning Thunder Goddess's Chosen buff. Later on, if you can get them, a well-rolled Rimskin Assassins is really what you want. And for the same reason that we stack burning damage, they come with a chance to open wounds, and the extra damage to bleeding monsters applies the same way that the extra damage to burning monsters does. So we actually get a really big boost to our damage out of these gloves. So that's really going to be your endgame target, is going to be Rimskins, but a solid, well-rolled Tectonic Grips will be sufficient enough, especially if you get, if you can get a perfect one, a 5/16/35, it's going to be very tough to beat unless you get a really high rolled Rimskin. So Tectonics are going to do very well for us, just the same way with Thunder Guardians. Try and get the best rolls that you can. And then boots, you want a 5 to lightning skills pair of Crush Fleet that roll Of course, 3 to all skill, 3 to physical, but as high on the agility on striking as you can get. And the reason, for that, of course, same reason with Emblem of Daemon. When that triggers, I believe at the max rank, we get like 48% to attack speed and movement speed. That stacked with Demon Form, we get over 100% increased attack speed from those 2 procs. So they go very well together. You can get a lot of extra damage out of a well-rolled pair of Crushed Fleets. So that's really what our endgame focus is going to be. Now, I want to give a couple of mentions when it comes to charms and things that you want to focus on. Honorable mention here to Anubis Ankh Charm. The percent increase to life is huge. As you can see, I'm running 4868, and by swapping that, I jump, and that's also losing 25 to all attributes. I still gain another 1200 life out of that thing. So, and that's not even a perfectly rolled one. Anubis Ankh Charm adds a ton of survivability to us. Aside from that, a lot of the standards that we're looking for, Chaos Gemstone, and this can roll all kinds of things. You can get all skills, lightning skills, physical skills, magical damage, lightning skill damage, life, attack rating, attack speed, all kinds of stuff. So it's really hard to give a direct, like, these are the ones that you really want, because there's so many different, it can roll anything in the game. But a decent rolled Chaos Gemstone is one that you want. Of course, Torsten's Anvil is a really nice one for a single slot, 1 to skill, up to 10 to attributes, and up to 10 to all resistances. It just can't be beat. It's amazing for a single slot. Air Melon, of course, huge one that we want, ideally with the best stats that we can get on it. Hello, it's me, Steve, is another one that the stat stacking, really beneficial, up to 75 to all stats. We do end up getting the improvement to Lightning Fury's damage through our strength conversion once we reach a point where our strength is high enough to where it's viable. And I've now, with the strength that I have, I get more damage out of this than I do by maxing the 1,000,000 volt charge. So stat stacking is not a bad thing for us. It just requires a significant amount of stat stacking. Same thing with Sheep King's Wool. Stats, minus enemy resistances, and magic skill damage. Very nice charm for us to pick up. A lot of the other standards, your Torch, Annihilator, Fulgurite. I do recommend picking up an Eye of Rackle. Having that extra health is very nice to have. Survivability, you can't do damage when you're dead. And then I've just got, a little attack speed gem, nothing else super fancy. Plague Shot for the movement speed. Unfortunately, I've been told that that is bugged and is not giving us the proper damage on it, so I may look into swapping that out for something else. But you'll have room to play around. And of course, Tablet of Awakening, put a +1 to skills and then attribute stacks in that as well. Now, I really quickly want to show you guys the skill trees that I have, how I have them set. And this is my Lightning Fury right now. Vengeance. And we're using Vengeance purely for the mana gain. If we find ourselves just out of mana and need to stack back up very quickly. And Holy Shock Aura. And I'm sure some of you noticed that this has changed since the last season. And this actually helps us with our clear a little bit. So I wanted to very quickly just cover the hero levels. I've been getting a lot of people asking, well, how do you have your hero levels? And I wanted to explain some of these more, what I would refer to as preferable nodes, and why they're preferable to us. Don't necessarily just follow mine blankly. It's better to understand why we're picking up certain nodes and why other ones we're leaving. So right now, I have it set as a very damage-heavy setup, because before the end of the season, I was pushing wormhole levels to hit rank 1. As you're going through and leveling this, things like the physical nodes over here, I wouldn't recommend getting. And the reason why is because that only affects the physical side of Lightning Fury. And if you're not in melee range to get that melee swing, you're not getting any benefit out of these. You want these here over on the left for the magic skill damage, which is going to affect our lightning damage. And that's going to be triggered regardless of if we're within melee range. The nodes for the additional charm slots are always valuable to us. I would very much say to try and hurry at some point to attack speed. The 20% here is good. As you can see, I have other things, increased critical strike damage and armor. These were, again, while I was pushing wormhole levels. They're not as big for us because they just don't do, like, we don't stack for crit, so the increased crit damage doesn't really help us as much. A lot of the stuff here at the top, you're going to want the stat stacking. The all resistances will probably be a early choice until you get some of your charms in place that can minimize your necessity for resistances. Increased experience gain is good. 2 to all skills is huge. Most people will rush for this right away. The magic find is good. You can also pick up the movement speed once you get to a certain hero level. We don't really go too far over here. A lot of the abilities, cooldown and faster cast rate, we get a little cooldown that can help us get our Thor's Fury activated quicker, but it's not a huge one because that's the only thing it really affects for us. Mana cost decrease, not really necessary. Same thing with Soul Hunger, Energy, Mana After Kill, and Mana Stolen. Kind of nice, but if you went through and set your skills the way I told you in the previous video, you'll have picked up Holy Retribution, and you should never run out of mana while clearing because of that. So, not really a huge issue on that one. I would say primarily focus on getting your heroic nodes for your glyphs, your charm slots, your nodes up here at the top, attack speed, and the magic skill damage are probably your priorities when it comes to your hero levels. And there we have it. There is your Lightning Pally Endgame gear guide. I hope you guys found this video very helpful. I hope it's going to help you guys push into Inferno and get all of your content done. As you saw early on in the video, Lightning Pally is more than capable of doing 2, 3, 4 billion single target damage, and I believe there is plenty of room at the top. That is not the ceiling. With the properly rolled gear, El Patron's belt, all of the corruptions that we can now get from satanic crystals, and jewels in your weapon with up to 25% attack speed, I believe that we can break 5 billion single target with a properly built Lightning Pally. So that remains to be seen. I look forward to seeing what the future holds and some of the concept ideas that come out from these modifiable pieces. I think it's going to be really exciting. Again, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. I hope it was very helpful to you as well. And thank you for watching. Please make sure to like, follow, subscribe, all that good stuff. Don't forget to check me out live over at twitch.tv/Benderton, which I have down there in the description. And again, thank you guys for watching. Have a good one. Good luck out there with the drops. And as always, game on.